Yo guys, Vision here back with more Marvel Rivals content. Today's video will be showing you the best DPS gameplay for each individual duelist in this game. This is the 6th episode of my new Lord series on the channel, and this episode will be for the Scarlet Witch, showing you the best gameplay possible. Now, to remind you guys, in case you haven't seen the previous episodes, the catch of this series is that I have to have earned the Lord icon on each of the heroes to be shown in this series before I can even upload them to the channel for you guys. So as you can imagine, this will take some time to complete, but I'm always up for the challenge. And in this video, I'll give you my advice on how best to use the hero, the strengths and the weaknesses, the do's and the don'ts from my own experiences in quick play, casual, and do match, as well as any tips I've learned along the way for both using the character in general, but also on how best to earn the Lord icon in the fastest and most efficient way. So, without further ado, let's get right into it. So I guess first things first, as a general overview of the character, and before I get into this, as I say in all of the previous episodes on this channel for this series, this is not a guide on the character, all of her abilities as such. As I've gone over it in the intro, this is more of me giving you an overview of the character, how best to use them in sort of quick play, comp, Doom match, all of the above, as well as my general ranking and experiences of using the character and how best and how sort of most efficient you can get this character to Lord from my own experiences. As I said, this is the ultimate goal for this series, is to get them all to Lord, every single character in the entire game. Now, she is a final hit specialist, someone I call an executioner. With the auto-tracking capability, she is really effective at tracing down dive heroes and being really effective at getting that final hit, and just being relentless with all-out damage in her burst attacks. Now, she doesn't get any love in this game due to the fact that how easy she is to use for the average player, but also that shouldn't take away how effective she can be in good hands, and in competitive, this is definitely a character that I think you should have in your bag, especially as a duelist player. Now, I'm actually a Vanguard main, so I played a lot of Doctor Strange at the start of this game, and the team-up ability between her and Doctor Strange makes her a really versatile hero when it comes down to that team ability, with having strong damage output as well as good evasion as it is. And now the character in itself, as I said, the abilities I've gone over in a separate guide, but I'm assuming you guys are already fully aware of all of the abilities. The bubble ability is really good at slowing down dive pressure and mobility characters or flyers, which is really effective at being in sort of certain metas where she can basically single-handedly pressure aerial and flyer heroes as well as dive heroes and being a counter dive hero in itself in a hybrid sense. Now, as the character in itself, I would say she is definitely one of the most versatile in all of the game, especially in the duelist category. And what I mean by that is because she has great damage output, burst, and just consistent with the tracking and tracing with the auto attack, but also the bubble, like I said, for stunning enemies and being effective at bringing flyers down, as well as sort of mitigating and slowing down the effects of dive heroes and all of the above, as well as the L2 button, this Chthonian burst, to be really effective at high burst DPS, especially against high health targets and larger sort of hitbox targets such as Groot and so on. But I would say she's more of a medium to close range DPS. If you guys want obviously a lot longer range, a sniper, a marksman sort of style hero, such as a Hela or your Jean Greys, your Hawkeyes, maybe your Black Widows, whatever it may be, then Scarlet Witch is definitely not the character you would go to for that long range aspect, but she fits in really well for that medium to close range area, making her really effective, and the ultimate ability in itself is really good for wiping out all of the team when used right, especially through portals, whatever it may be. But as I said, I'll go into the strengths and weaknesses in a short second. The team up ability, as I said, makes her really strong in this game, and when it comes down to the system or the meta she is playing in, I would say she's one of the easiest to fit into any system in this game, due to her being sort of unique in itself, with being able to sort of be a counter dive hero as a hybrid sort of duelist, as well as being really good for damage consistency, and also being just effective at slowing down dive heroes with the bubble, as well as the Chthonian burst for the higher health targets, as I just said. So I'd say all around, in terms of system or meta, she can be used in pretty much any system. Whether you have a one tank system with a Doctor Strange and 3 duelists, she fits in really well. If it's a 2-tank system, so you have 2 duelists as well, she fits in really well. I would then also just say, like, if in comparison to maybe, let's say you use just Hela and Hawkeye together, you'd have too much sort of marksman capabilities, but you wouldn't have enough close quarter capabilities, whereas she's going to be really good at counter diving and sort of being a hybrid in that sense, with being able to slow down the likes of a Black Panther or an Iron Fist or whatever it may be. And then just as on her strengths and weaknesses, as I said, her tracking makes her a real good hybrid counter dive hero in this game for mitigating the likes of BP, Spider-Man, all of those sort of heroes with the auto aiming, which is where a lot of the players get this sort of gist or this sort of stigma around Scarlet Witch being such a boring or easy to use character. And there's just a stigma around anyone that picks this character. People just, I don't know what it is, they just hate her. And I kind of get it to a degree because she's so easy to play. And like I said, I've got her Lord. I think I got her to Lord in about 13.5 hours, but I did play a lot of Doom match with this character, and I found her so easy to use on Doom match. So that's just a little tip for you guys, which I'll get onto at the end of the video, on how best to get her to Lord. But in itself, I would say she definitely has a stigma, more so than anyone else in the game almost. Like, there's this Black Panther stigma with everyone not liking the character, which I absolutely despise. So I'm all on board with that one. There's a Moon Knight stigma, and there is definitely a Scarlet Witch stigma, for which like I said, I kind of understand. But at the same time, this is definitely a hero that you want in your bag as a duelist player. As well as this, her mobility is incredible, with being able to evade, avoiding stun attacks and other ultimate abilities, as well as gaining high ground or creating off angles. This ability is really effective at just being able to have it, and 2 charges makes it really useful in itself. If it was just 1 charge, it wouldn't really be that effective, but the 2 charges makes it really effective. So I'd say that is a great strength for this character. She also has that great bubble grounding sort of crowd control ability, as I said throughout. The stunning ability is so powerful when placed right and put in a good position. You can really take down flyers out the sky. You can stop dive heroes from being effective. You can stop the likes of a Venom from being able to pop his symbiotic resilience, being able to regain all his health. All of that sort of stuff is a great ability for stunning enemies and making it one of the best crowd control abilities in the duelist category. As well as the team ability, as I said, this makes her much more viable in a Doctor Strange system, as well as the magic team ability that's been added in Season 4. I would say all around this makes her a really good hero in herself, and she just sort of fits in, as I said throughout the video so far, she fits into most systems, being a very, very versatile hero and duelist in itself. And then also I'd say her high burst damage output is really effective and reliable. It's really easy to use. You just have to be a bit consistent, especially at range targets. At that medium to close range though, it's really easy to use, really easy to hit large scale targets such as Groot. But as for her weaknesses, I'd say she's definitely one of the squishiest targets in the game, with a 250 base health, and if she runs out of those sort of evasion abilities, the charges, if you run out of them and you get caught in a vulnerable area, you are going to pretty much die. There's not much you can do to avoid it. I would say her ultimate as well is very situational and almost too readable, unless you use a portal or follow up other teammates' ultimates, but is a very effective against enemy support ultimates due to the damage output that it will have, and of course the tweaks that this ability now has with the fact that it pulls enemies in and all that sort of stuff. But I'd say all around, the ultimate is decent, but it definitely isn't a strong ultimate, and I would say it's definitely readable, especially at the higher level in competitive. I play at the sort of GM Celestial level, and this ultimate is really hard to sort of time right, I would say, from my own experiences, unless of course there's other ways and better ways to be using this that you guys have, or if you're a Scarlet Witch player, or you've seen good ways on using this ability, of course let me know down below in the comments, as that will be massively helpful for both myself and other newer players that are trying to get this character to Lord. And then also I would say she also lacks that range. As I said earlier, she's a close to medium range sort of duelist, but the range aspect of her character really is where she sort of falls off as a duelist. She can't really do any range damage, and even if you hit the Chthonian burst, it doesn't really do that a great amount of damage at that sort of range. So I would say that is just a weakness in itself. That's not too significant because you don't use her for the sort of that aspect, but you would also use her for her tracking and tracing with the auto attack, as well as all of the other abilities we've gone over in this video so far. As for the do's and the don'ts of this character, I would say she can't really deal with 2 enemies at once, or at least effectively. So I would try and avoid being isolated as often as possible. Fighting multiple enemies is really a no-go, especially as I said, I played a lot of this character on Doom Match, and anytime there was 2 enemies at once, you kind of want to juggle and focus on the weakest target, and that's really where she's going to excel. But trying to fight 2 targets at once is really not where she's going to excel, because she can't really deal multiple damage or AoE in great abundance, especially using the Chthonian burst. Unless they're really tightly sort of grouped together, there is not much you could do, or of course you can stun them and do individual damage, but I'd say that is definitely something you should avoid doing. She's also very competent in 1v1s, that therefore sort of is like the alternative way you could look at it. She's really effective when played right against most heroes in the game, so force players out when they're caught out of ultimates or in rotations to their team or around the objective, whatever it may be. This is where you want to sort of single-handedly prioritize that enemy and really do a crazy amount of damage. Make the healers have to rotate to that character, or just single them out and get those team fight numbers advantages. I'll also say for the do's, you are really effective against dive heroes in this game, especially if you know how to use the evasion and sort of baiting out their abilities, i.e. a Black Panther. If you see one sort of approaching and trying to make his pounce, you simply just want to try and put yourself in a position where you look vulnerable, and then use your dash or your sort of evasion abilities to go up in the air, and then as you're levitating down to the ground, that's where you're going to catch them out. All of those sort of mechanics, using their abilities really smartly, can really sort of catch out those evasive, reliable characters and mobility characters or flyers as well. So just bear this in mind as for the do's. And then I guess as for personal advice based on experience and my rankings, I played a lot of Doom Match for this character in the Lord grind, and that is kind of where I got a lot of my sort of points, I guess, towards the Lord character. But I have played a fair amount in the competitive playlist as well as just casual in itself. So I would say all around, she's really good in all 3 categories, and she fits into, as I said, all of the systems from my own experiences. But on top of that, I'd also say she's really fun to use and also very easy to play, being effective at shutting down those pesky dive heroes, making her a standout hero in that duelist category for myself. And from my own experiences, I'd say Mr. Fantastic, Iron Fist, and maybe Magic and the Thing were probably the hardest heroes to beat in isolation due to the high sustain, to maybe avoid sort of challenging them on your own. But also I would say most other heroes in the game she's really effective at in sort of 1v1 situations, or just in isolation, single them out, as well as sort of using your teammates around you. As a duelist, I'd say she definitely has top 10 potential in certain systems. She's a favored hero, but also being fairly easy to shut down. I'd say even though she's easy to use, unless you're playing around your tanks really effectively, you're targeting those squishies as a priority, you're peeling for your supports to keep them alive and also protect them, as well as being your team's final hit expert, that sort of executioner style player, shutting down dives and using your ultimate to cause a panic at lower elo, sort of alleviating point pressure or to bait out enemy team ultimates. She's not that strong of a hero in comparison to the other rest of the duelists in the game. That's kind of why I wouldn't say she's in the sort of certified top 10, but she definitely has potential. I'll say when she's in good hand, because like with most characters, she is really effective in this game for various different reasons due to her versatility and her damage output. But in summary, I'd say I'd highly recommend having Scarlet Witch in your bag. Understanding her mechanics, her cooldowns, and her playstyle is definitely worth it, especially if you're a duelist main. Knowing you can switch to her for various different reasons, as I've alluded to throughout this video, is going to be great for confidence boosting as a player, as well as enjoyable for shutting down those dive heroes that, if you're like myself, I absolutely despise the dive playstyle. I absolutely agree with it, but I also do not enjoy playing against it. So she is a really good hero to have in your bag. And also racking up final hits. There's not many heroes that does it as good as this character due to how easy it is to use, and also the auto tracking, which I know a lot of players, as I said, there's a stigma about this character who a lot of players just despise seeing a Scarlet Witch both against and also on your team. So just bear that in mind. But in summary, I'd say she's definitely a good hero to have in your bag and someone that I really enjoy grinding out for the Lord. And then as for getting the character to Lord in the most efficient way from my own experiences and advice, like I said earlier, I played a lot of Doom Match in this game, so it was really easy. And I think the large reason for that was not only the final hits that you could rack up in this game mode, so that would definitely be a number one tip that I would say. If you're looking to grind out for this character, doing it in Doom Match was definitely one of the most efficient ways that I would suggest, and especially for other characters as well. That goes all around for any other character, I guess, in the Duelist category. But as a general tip for all Lord heroes, anytime you're grinding out with these characters, make sure you review the bottom category, the bottom hero-specific item that is required for each individual character. And for Scarlet Witch, it is using the Dark Seal ability, the Bubble, the L1 ability on console to try and stun enemies. And if you place this in really good positions, you are going to constantly stun enemies and you're going to catch out multiple in one go. And you can literally get one of these done in every single game. Or if you have a really, really good game, you could do this twice in one game, even at the higher levels, at the Centurion or Captain sort of status when you're grinding out Lord. So I'd say definitely focus on that as an absolute priority. And I guess as a final tip is to not use the same character in every single game. This is something I've suggested and recommended in every single video so far. If you're trying to grind out Lord, make sure, in my opinion, have multiple on the go at one given time, because using the same hero in every single game is not going to be effective. That's not how a hero shooter like this works. That's not how Marvel Rivals is going to benefit you. By playing the same character in every single game means you're going to eventually get caught out versus different team comps. Although she's versatile, there are just certain team comps where she's going to be ineffective. So my advice would be to have multiple heroes on the go, and trying to progress multiple in different categories is also a good suggestion. So consider that. And if you guys have enjoyed the video, as always, do not forget to like and subscribe. And it's a massive helps me out. If you have any comments or thoughts about playing as Scarlet Witch, or if you have any cool clips that you want to share, like you saw at the start of this video with me taking out the entire enemy team in Doom Match, it was like 6 or 7 players I think I got in the kill feed, as you're seeing right now, where I basically take out the entire team using an ultimate really well. Of course, in Doom Match, it is a bit random. You can find some players who don't really know what's going on, or they don't hear the sound cue, whatever it may be. But that was a pretty cool clip that I got. So if you have any cool clips like that, feel free to share them and let me know down below in the comments, and I'll go right back to you. I'm Vision. I hope you enjoyed the video and found this useful, and I'll see you in the next one.